This is from A to B, presented to you by awesomemode.com. I am Andrew. I have Ben with me. I'm hosting a stream.
Woo!
Yeah.
We've moved up in the world.
Exactly. Taking the training wheels off a little bit. Not exactly. If there's something that can go wrong, I will find a way to do it.
There's various reasons why I'm not the host, and they all have to do with me. But yeah, it's new week, a new Monday. I shaved. I had to, after yesterday, I needed a new look. Had to start fresh.
Yeah, I need to shave. It's I am beat, man. It's been a very, very busy week. Having the NBA back on top of NFL. Even had some golf this weekend. Stuff everywhere.
A lot of stuff, and It never ends because we got Showdown tonight. So it's not a loss until you lose in Showdown tonight. Then it's a loss.
Yeah. What if I lost in Showdown last night?
That's not a good start. Yeah, and in London. I actually had a
Did you play Showdown in London?
I made one team. It had Tyrell Williams as the captain.
Oh, wow.
But it cashed. It did nothing of value, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, last night Mixon was my captain in Showdown, so you know how that went.
Yeah, that was tough. I had too much Chris Conley because I felt like the other studs were all sort of worth having. I had some good players, but whatever. It didn't go great. I did notice I had not seen before. They have Showdown for I played Showdown for Pat's Bears. Sony Michel for Pat's Patriots and Bears.
I know. I'm just at 1 o'clock.
Yep.
It was funny. We were talking, and I didn't pick up on this. Now it makes sense. You had, when Sony Michel got hurt, I thought you said to me, "Oh, he was my captain or something," and I was like, "Huh." But now the pieces are filling in my mind.
Yep, he was my captain. I also had Patriots defense. That was my only exposure to the Patriots defense. So despite them being a smash play, I lost my captain. Fairly quickly. But it's big. They had the $10 tournament was still $20K for first.
That's crazy.
Yeah, people love Showdown. So
they do, and that's why we're gonna talk some Showdown. Giants Falcons tonight. Pretty bad game, but it's honestly in the NFC though. These teams, the Giants are probably toast, but the Falcons could still get back in it.
Yeah, the Falcons are a good offense.
Yeah, just they might have the worst defense in the league.
Yeah, over under Saquon Barkley 90.5% owned in Showdown tonight.
I thought you were gonna say points, which would be bold. Yeah, he's gonna be quite popular. It's one of those things, and we can delve right into it. At what point, even I remember week 1. Ironically, it was the Falcons with the Eagles. You were talking about Julio, where it's you know what? If the ownership gets to a certain level, you kind of just want to go the other direction on principle.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. I think this is one of those raw point situations, though, where maybe you play Barkley just not in the captain slot or something like that. Because I think he might be 40-50% of the captain slots tonight. So you can be weird while still having him, and he's going to be a good play. So
yeah, you can get it's crazy to say that, but you're right. You can get leverage on Barkley by playing him, just not in the captain spot, I think.
Exactly. Which
is somewhat and this is different because the volume is going to be there. It's hard to imagine him not having. He can in terms of effectiveness, he could be ineffective, but he could still get 15 to 20 and in a Showdown, that might be part of the optimal lineup regardless.
Yeah, especially with some of the value we have, just because the Giants don't have any wide receivers left.
That's the problem, yeah.
They have, Beckham and Shepard, but then for a third guy, it's Cody Latimer is on the IR now. I forget who the other one was, but
another Shepard.
Yeah, Russell Shepard may or may not play tonight. And then, literally the only other one even on here is Benny Fowler. But, there are two. There's, Quadri Henderson, who's not even in the pool. Or, Corey Coleman is on their practice squad now. He's not in the pool. Those guys might actually play tonight.
Man, Corey Coleman is racking up the teams this year.
Yeah.
He's been on like a third of the league, I feel like, through 2 months. It's I don't want to say impressive, but it's something. We had. Do you have chat open?
Yeah. That's
a great question. Good question from Greg. We got and another good question. Yeah, if I do well in a lot of DFF stuff, don't just make me really good or lucky and awful. No, it doesn't make you lucky and awful. Just you probably avoided, and we will get into this after we talk Showdown. Some of the I don't even want to call them landmines. They were just it was quicksand if you fell into some of the chalk traps yesterday. If you avoided those, you probably had a pretty good week. Even if you had a couple of them, I actually had a decent week, and I certainly had some Jermaine Curse, and that was a actual goose egg.
Oh, yeah. There were 2 actual goose eggs, notable ones. Didn't Marquise Goodwin pull the 0?
No, he rallied.
Oh, nice.
Big rally at the end. I think he got like 4. So, yeah, no, he there was a real – I mean, I know you were included in this. Like, for a while there, I had wide receivers. It was just like 0, 0, and then Gabriel had like 1. It's like, okay.
Yeah, he had 1.7. He was sitting at 0 for quite a long time, too.
Yeah.
It was
anyway.
Yeah, regardless. But, I mean, that is a common theme on this show, Greg. Like, we do often talk about how, like, both you and I tend to play in situations where we are going to be set up to do pretty well when a lot of chalk fails. That wasn't the case for me yesterday. I was on the wrong chalk. But, you know, like, when chaos happens in a golf tournament is usually when you and I have some real...
We thrive in that chaotic...
real spots.
So hopefully there'll be chaos tonight, dare I say. I don't know what to really make of this. I mean, you know, I'm looking up and down, and yeah, you talked about the Giants' weapons. I think it's this is definitely important. You know, Evan Ingram back in action. That's going to change the complexion of the offense. I'm definitely going to jump on him. That's price is going to continue to rise, obviously on main slates as well. And
he's a great play because you need, in the cover 3 situation, like, you need to have a Cam Chancellor to be effective stopping a tight end. And the Falcons, notably, are on their like 8th and 9th safeties. So
yeah, they've run out of safeties. Deion Jones is also gone, as we talk about every week with them. They've just been torched, and that's why Saquon's going to have massive ownership. But Ingram definitely going to be a staple of my my lineups. And then, you know, it's hard to imagine. I know this has been the case, but I will still continue to say that in higher scoring environments, the kickers lose some of their appeal. I'm not saying you can't play them, but you've mentioned this a million times. Kickers thrive when offenses are stalling, and that's, you know, they rarely work in conjunction with each other.
Yeah, it's really hard. Teams have to put points have to leave points on the board. Now, as we've seen in sort of this modern NFL or whatever, where you can't really play defense at all, like, both things can happen, you know, like that the Patriots-Chiefs game where both offenses actually stalled a ton in the red zone and still put up 40-plus points apiece, which that's a crazy outcome, but
yeah, it happened. I mean, it happens when, and notably it was the Chiefs-Patriots was like the ultimate outlier, and it was because none of the value got there, and that made the kickers, you know, certainly optimal, but it's tough to imagine that happening more oftentimes than not. So I'll be leaning on skill position players tonight. I just think this game gets up and down on both sides. Expect a shootout, like I think a lot of people do.
Yes. You're going to have to do something kind of strange, though. Do you have any ideas for, like, where to go about that? Because just, you know, the Barkley, Julio, Ingram, Matt Ryan, like, with one of the really cheap options just seems to be, I don't know, kind of hard to avoid.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you got to try to find something. My first thought, and I haven't really run through this, but it was just an initial thought, is maybe trying to pair up Ito Smith and Coleman and be really different like that. They both get the work. You're probably going to both need them to score, and who knows how that would, obviously in a normal slate, you would never want to do that. But I could see here maybe Atlanta does just control it on the ground. You could run that back with a couple of the Giants' weapons and fill in from there. And I would venture to say that won't be a super popular idea just because of double running back.
Yeah, that's probably true. I don't think a lot of people will be on the Falcons defense for good reason because it's terrible, but like the Eli slash Giants offensive line situation is also terrible to the point that, you know, something could happen here. So I think there's definitely reasonable outs for the Falcons to put up a reasonable amount of points, and especially if they end up, you know, with that narrative you're talking about, if they're able to sort of pound the ball on the ground. That's certain. That's the way that out hits, I think.
Yeah, and I mean, this is, of course, it's showdown anyway, but like the Falcons defense is the type that they could give up a boatload of points and still be a solid play in this format, just because, you know, Eli, we've seen time and time again, he's not immune to turning the ball over, putting it lightly. So that can work, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's, I don't know, though. I mean, I'm hoping I know that I'll probably do what we talked about initially and not put Saquon in I'm hoping so many people flood to him in the captain spot that it shrinks the pool right off the bat. And then you can kind of work from there. It's still going to be very difficult to be unique, but that will help if a disproportionate amount of people just jam him in the captain spot.
Yeah, and I mean, I certainly think that is what people are going to do. He's a great play. Don't get us wrong. Like,
you couldn't find a better spot, honestly.
Yeah. It's such a good spot that it's probably worth fading. You know, like,
yep.
It's hard.
It's true.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. Yeah, that's to the point where we're talking about leverage within the play. He's in such a good spot. It's hard to imagine him being off your lineup at the same time, because unless obviously you never know with injuries, but that notwithstanding, he's going to get work. This is a perfect matchup. We've seen every single running back torch the Falcons through the passing game.
Yep.
And he's torched good teams via that. Eagles come to mind. So it's going to be a tricky situation with him right off the bat.
Yeah, I mean, he could legitimately score like 50 regular DraftKings points, which turns into 75 in the captain slot.
That would be useful, yeah. I mean,
but
it's not
so bad. Can Julio. So I think that's the exciting part there. And I do think, I would imagine that Saquon is 4 times as popular in the captain spot as Julio.
I was going to say 3, 4, very, very possible. I mean, there's no doubt that everybody's going to be on him. Everyone's talking about it. And again, for good reason, but he's not the only one with massive, massive upside. I mean, Julio, even Odell, he's totally lost in the shuffle. He's certainly, the ceiling is still sky high. It's obviously not the same floor and overall matchup, but I'll definitely be starting with the 2 big wide receivers and then working in from there.
Yeah, exactly. Because if you know, Saquon is, this is something we talk about occasionally, but just to make, to kind of drive the point home, if Saquon is 4 times as popular in the captain slot as Julio, then if you're playing Julio in the captain slot, that only has to work 1 out of, you need to feel comfortable that has a 1 in 5 or 20% chance of working. That Julio is going to outscore Saquon 1 out of 5 times. And if you think he's going to do that, which I certainly do, then the expected value lies in the Julio play. It's a bet that you are likely to lose, but the payoff for it working is significantly higher, and it doesn't have to work very often for it to be the right play.
Exactly. It doesn't, and that's why if you're playing, depending on how many showdown lineups you have, you just like a main slate, you want to make that portfolio where I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket where it's like I'm all in on Julio in the captain spot, and then if Saquon gets 60, it's just completely over. Now maybe I take a couple there and a couple here, you mix and match, and then you have smaller leverage spots, but at the same time you have more permutations that you'll be live going to the second half, say, or something like that.
Yep, 100% agree with that.
Yeah,
makes some sense. Spencer wanted to know Evan Ingram as a punt captain. Yeah. Ooh. I think that could work. I mean, that gets you the option of playing like 3 real studs around your, in addition to your captain. So there's a lot of guys that are very expensive in this game. So
yeah, absolutely. And the one thing I'll say there, and I don't mind that at all, if you do play Ingram, and I haven't built just yet, but I wouldn't mind leaving some money off the table just to be unique in the sense that everyone who plays Ingram in the captain spot is going to jam the same people in.
Right.
So you could do like a captain with Ingram and then a one-off at the bottom, and that could really be a different type of combo.
Yeah, you're playing Ingram so that you can have Julio and Barkley and Odell or Ryan in there. So
and so is everyone else most likely who's playing him as the captain.
Exactly. So even if Ingram is only, I don't know, 6-8% as the captain, then not everyone, but the vast majority of those teams, which we're still talking about, I don't know how many people are in this freaking tournament. It's so big.
Like tens of thousands of teams within the teams.
Yeah,
like
we'll still be sharing 3 of the 4 of Julio, Odell, Matt Ryan, and Saquon Barkley. So
yeah, that's exactly. I mean, that's the sort of thing you want to reduce the pool, and then within that, do it one more time. So it's like, yeah, you take all the Ingram people, now you have a lot less, and it's like, how can I once again be in that like 5 to 10% range? Because if you do the Ingram thing and then you're in the pool with 80% of the other Ingram people, obviously you could get it wrong right off the bat, and even if you're right, what's the potential reward? That's the tricky part.
Yep. Andrew Williams in the chat brings up, nice name, that Eli doesn't really throw much more than 7 to 10 yards down the field, so Ingram is going to be huge. Agree with that. The second part of his statement is that OBJ is an easy fade. I would not agree with that. OBJ does not need targets 30 yards down the field to work. We've seen him take those sort of, 8-yard dig routes and then just blow by the entire rest of the field because he's super freaking fast and dangerous in space. So I think he's certainly capable of outrunning a bunch of people after he's caught the ball, even if it is on a 7 to 10 yard target, like you're saying. So I will still have a fair amount of Odell. I think he might be the third most popular of the mega studs too. So
I think so. Yeah, I think that's Julio. I would have above him in terms of ownership, and Saquon is above everyone, obviously. I'm with you. Obviously, it would help. There's no doubt, just to stretch the field. But Odell is going to command the ball. The targets have been there. They haven't been the best targets, but he's still getting the looks. And, this is a great matchup, not just for Saquon, but for him. So if he can get in the open field, it's true. Like, when I think of Odell, besides the ridiculous catches, I really do think of the slant across the middle where he just gets it in stride, and it's just like, well, here he goes. And that, you're just looking for obviously one of those type of plays. That's the home run upside that all these elite guys have. So I'll have some Odell, no doubt, especially because I'm kind of making that stand where I won't have as much Saquon in the captain as the rest of the field.
Right. And your last line of defense against those Odell things, like if he beats his own man, which, often will be true fine, but they usually in cover 3 you play a side. So, but the last line of defense there is traditionally your Earl Thomas, or in the Falcons case, Keanu Neal guy, and they just don't have anyone left to do that. So,
no,
they
don't. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, or at the same time, Odell, like all these guys, it's not above them being a fine fade. If you don't like it, you don't have to jam him in by any stretch. But right. I think there's some worthwhile narrative to do that.
He'll still be 30+% owned overall, and is probably better bet. More than 30% of the time, he's not gonna really get there. So
yeah, Showdown, it brings, unless you play someone crazy, you're taking a decent chunk of ownership along with you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any? Just a couple more guys, and then we can talk a little about what happened yesterday. Austin Hooper every time I think, well, he had a ridiculous game. It's not going to happen again. He's, 2 straight now, good ones. I don't know. I'm still kind of inclined to not make him a priority. I don't mind playing him, of course. You can certainly go there. But do you have interest in him, just kind of on the whole?
In Hooper?
Yeah.
I do. I do, yeah.
Lot of targets. I mean, I get it. They look to him in the red zone. I'm still just, I don't know. There's something about it for me where it's not like I think he's going to have a bad game, but he still has that, floor where he sees a handful of targets and returns basically nothing. And I do think he'll be popular.
Yeah, I do too. And he's not a crazy, listen, I mean, 12 targets is going to be valuable no matter what, but like he only pulled 77 yards on 12 targets a couple weeks ago. Like that's not, 71 yards on 10 targets last week. Like that's not big time production necessarily. He's not a guy who's going to break one, so you need that volume to be there, or you need him to, score. But
yeah, obviously you can't play everyone to get over the field, so I have to make some stands there. And because I'm certainly on the two big gun receivers, I really like Ingram. Hooper's the guy I think, not that he's going to be left out, but I wouldn't be stunned for me to take a certainly an underweight position there, look to be different. And then I'm just looking, when you get down, I don't know how much in terms of the super cheap punts. I don't see that much down there.
No, I don't really either. I think Benny Fowler, maybe if Shepard's up. Fowler or Shepard.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to look to like someone, Justin Hardy, but he's probably one of the only guys besides that situation with the Giants that I'm interested in doing. And he's not like, we've seen time and time. I'll just keep using Traquan Smith because it's the easiest example. He was like $200 that slate.
Right.
I don't see anything really down there. Certainly the low owned in the thousands, 2000s, 3000s, sure. But for the $200, $400 punts, not much there this week.
No, there's really not. I mean, Rhett Ellison could be the $1,000 troll touchdown, but I don't think you're getting much more than that. I think he's like he's like his ceiling with a touchdown is still like 11 points or something like that.
Yeah, that's one of those, like you just said. I feel like everything would have to break your way, and if it's a super high scoring game, it still might not be the optimal move. Which in Showdown you literally need the perfect lineup. So yeah. We did have, Spencer was asking, is Showdown mainly GPP or is it cash playable? Well, we do have I know you bring up Ponta. He plays cash in this.
He loves this Showdown cash.
For me, I don't really love the format, so I make a handful of tourney teams and I throw it in just for some fun. And, obviously I'm trying to win, of course. I don't play cash. I will say this, and I think, Andrew, you'd agree. When you're playing cash, the mindset's totally different. Guys like the kickers are they're more valuable, of course, because you're just looking for points.
Right.
You don't need to be outrageous. You don't want to zero. If someone's going to return 7 or 8 points, probably not going to get you first in the 200,000 person tournament, but for cash, that's a pretty valuable commodity.
Exactly. Kickers that's why they're popular in these games too, is because they're good point per dollar plays. They're pretty safe for their 7, 8, 9 points, but it's rare to see kickers score 20 plus. It happens. And it's, and even a kicker that scores 13, 14 is really good if none of the value gets there in the giant tournaments. But overall, they just don't have the huge ceiling. It takes them a long time to rack up the points. But absolutely, in cash, I think you're pretty much like standard should be playing, both quarterbacks, both kickers, if you were to go out and play Showdown cash as a general rule. Not necessarily, like tonight where we have
Eli.
Yeah, Eli stinks, and we've got some real nice commodities at the skill positions. I wouldn't necessarily just jam both quarterbacks, but 90% of the time, if you're playing Showdown cash, it should be quarterback, kicker, kicker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just a different mindset. Whereas, in tournaments, you're building a lot of crazy combinations, things that are suboptimal. They're not the best, but it's more about being unique. In cash, you're more worried. You want to make just a very steady, rock solid team.
Yep.
All right. We gotta predict the score before we transition. You have a thought on what happens tonight?
Uh, I mean, I think the Falcons roll them.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, they should really just win at home. If they can't win this game, they don't deserve to be in the hunt.
It's true. I am going to say the score is 28.5 to 24.5 Falcons.
Sharp. You know who agrees with you?
Las Vegas.
That's right. Always good company. I'll say...
Yeah, I don't know. 34-17.
Ooh, you took one of my numbers. I was going to say 34-24.
Okay.
Falcons. As much as I'd like to pick the Giants, I don't see it in a game that, the Falcons really need this game. So
they do, and they are a team that had some expectations coming in. I mean, those expectations are pretty much gone because their team is bad on the defensive side of the ball. But that said, they should be able to handle this corpse of a Giants team. Emac brought up a couple points. He has an article on the front page over at Osmo.com breaking down the game tonight. So if you want to check out a little stuff there, your old pal has some info for you. Walkover. I don't know. Sorry, I'm burnt out already.
NBA
week of the NBA.
NBA, yeah.
Yeah. Osmo.com. You should look at our page. We have some free content as well as some really cool stuff, I think, behind the paywall. If you were to want to stick around, there's almost always a promo code to get you a free week trial as well. So
absolutely
check that out. Patrick Peterson asked for a trade per Schefter.
Ooh.
According to Josh is just hanging out in chat now because he doesn't have to produce us. Just
living
really
the dream, man.
Really rubbing it in.
That'll be interesting. Yeah, I mean the Cardinals. I'd want to get off that sinking ship as fast as I could, so I don't blame them.
Yeah, I mean, and Patrick Peterson's still a really good player.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to think of what teams have the resources and the wherewithal to get him, but I don't know that off the top of my head.
That'd be later in the week. We'll dig into that if it comes to fruition.
Certainly. All right. Any takeaways? You want to get into this nightmare of a full slate from yesterday?
Sure. Mine, I mean, I'm happy, and mine wasn't a nightmare, which I was frustrated. I did not get there in cash, which that sets you behind the 8 ball. And B, I had one really good core lineups that had multiple permutations of, and those were Eagle stacks. I had them in the right tournaments, some of my high dollar stuff. So early, it really looked promising. It didn't fully materialize. The Bears got me. Trubisky got me. I was not on them at all, and they really became, such a good Tariq Cohen and those guys made up a lot, and then Wentz couldn't get that last drive. So that was a killer. I was fortunate. I could look at it two ways. I am kind of annoyed that I didn't get what I really thought I was going to smash the week where it looked. At the same time, I did not do well in cash, and I still came out slightly ahead. That's a win in itself. So,
definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I'll pass it right back to you, though, with these guys in general. I think everyone, we saw the gutter balls from guys like Jermaine Kearse. There were just some horrendous plays that were really popular. I know it's a loaded question, but, what do you really take away from something like that?
I don't know. I haven't really had a ton of time to go through and pick up the pieces and see exactly what happened, but I too did not quite get there in cash. I think looking at seems like some of the difference between us too was you were very heavy on Kerryon Johnson.
Yep.
I went mostly to Golden Tate in that game.
Okay.
So that definitely hurt. That was a big difference. I really thought Tate was going to have just a nice week, but did not pull that off. I had Tate in cash as well. Also got a bagel from Jermaine Kearse in cash.
So did I.
I was pretty heavy on the Bears, but the problem is the one I was heavy. I had quite a bit of Tariq Cohen, but I was heaviest on Taylor Gabriel, who was the one guy who didn't get it done. I did have some Mitchell Trubisky, but really it was Trubisky with Burton and Cohen that you needed, and I didn't have any of that particular combo. Really liked the matchup for Gabriel. I thought the Patriots would spend a little more time trying to take Burton out. And Gabriel is more the Tyreek Hill type player that gives the Patriots a ton of trouble. So I thought that he had a lot of outs, but just didn't really happen for him.
Yeah, it was a weird situation there. I had Gabriel and Cash. That was the problem.
Yeah, same.
And it happens for sure. Kerryon Johnson was huge for me. That was one of the things that really helped. The other big problem, and this was a real killer because I wrote in the article, I love the Colts defense. Loved them. I played them a little. I perpetually found $300 to go get the Jaguars.
Ooh.
And that was just really unfortunate. They were terrible. Bortles did them no favors in terms of giving them just short fields. And that game obviously got away from him. DeAndre Hopkins is an absolute monster. Shout out to him for just being the dude.
Yep.
But yeah, that was annoying. And then other than that, it was just a lot of blah. I mean, Gurley, honestly, we were pretty spot on with him in the sense that Cash, easy play. GPP, you did not need him. 30, as good as it is, it's not crushing you by any extent if you went elsewhere.
No, I mean, this slate, it was a little bit tricky because it was lower scoring, than it has been. So that 30 points was certainly useful, but it wasn't auto death like it would
Kamara.
Yeah.
But the other thing, to not talk against myself, the other thing that was kind of annoying with Gurley is, especially for me, in the spots where I didn't use him, I used Zeke or Kamara, and that wasn't the answer. Now, that 30 would have been minimized even further if Kamara went nuclear, of course. And that didn't happen. So those combinations were, yeah, you're right. The 30, it certainly helped, but you could get by without it. And
yeah,
I don't know.
I actually did warm up and play a little bit more Gurley than I was originally expecting, just because I found a lot of value that I liked throughout the week. And I was able to make I had a lot of Kamara Gurley teams, which would have been a really exciting hammer to have if it wasn't all killed already by Jermaine Kearse and Taylor Gabriel.
Smokey Brown was good for me late. He kept me in it. It was just Robert Woods never materialized, and that's the Rams for you. Sometimes it's him, sometimes it's Cook, every time it's Gurley. And that's, again, that is kind of what it is. Justin Tucker, that was really weird yesterday.
Oh yeah,
first time for everything.
Yep. Adam Thielen, right in the middle of his range of outcomes, which I believe is 28 to 30.
It's shrinking now. It was like 27 to 32, and now we've been able to close that gap.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was another one. It was weird. I don't know. I played him a lot and turned on the TV at 105. He's in the end zone already. Gets his 100-yard bonus late. Like, what a smooth ride every week with that guy. It's unbelievable.
It's unreal. Like, that is, I don't know. Yeah, that does not happen, especially in football. But yeah, the 9 catches, 110 yards, and a TD, no problem. Just did it again.
Yeah. No, I mean, there was a lot of, it was lower scoring, which I naturally kind of like. And I think we're going to see that, it was only 10 games, and a lot of the stars are being flexed. They're big teams. Elsewhere of the Falcons, defense is always the best one to pick on. They weren't on the slate. The one that was, though, and this was a super important game for everyone, was one of the most inept, was the Browns-Bucks game.
And then we had to see a ton of it because it went to overtime too. So they're playing that on all the red zone channels over the afternoon games.
Yeah, there were no winners in that game. I mean, the coaching was like, Dirk Cutter was trying to challenge when he couldn't. Hugh Jackson has obviously no idea what he's doing. It was pretty ugly. Chubb bailed everybody out. Actually returned a fine game. And
never in doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Never in doubt is right. And he could have actually had a great game if they weren't so dumb and they tried to get cute with that sneak on the goal line, and Baker got stonewalled. Yes. But yeah, it's, the Browns are just so I honestly think this is worse than last year for them. Like, they should be winning these games. It's pathetic.
I had Baker and Chubb in cash, and that would have been very helpful for them to convert that somehow. But
yeah, I mean, Njoku was super popular.
Mm-hmm.
he was, again, he was fine. And Landry got in the end zone on a nice play. The pieces were there. It's certainly against a defense like that, you would expect more. And they got down early, and we were actually talking about this. Everyone was panicked. I thought that was a pretty good situation for them because it was like, all right, now they can just go nuts and come back. But they, it just, you didn't get that. And then Trubisky going nuts on the other side of, a different game, of course, that put even more heat on the Baker teams.
It did.
I don't know. We'll see now what happens. Obviously, Chubb's price is going to come way up. And, that value opened up midweek. That's what really funneled all that chalk to it.
It literally took a trade for that to even happen this year.
Yeah.
Because DraftKings has been pretty good about making sure that the backups are priced to be, because if Chubb is 4,400 or 4,500, which has been what we've seen a number of times when someone, like the first TJ Yeldon week or the first couple, Tevin Coleman I think was even more expensive than that, but they've done a reasonable job of making it so that it's not just an autoplay. But this one was so out of nowhere because it was a trade that like Chubb was all the way down at 3,600.
Yeah, no, and again, the only thing is I can do that injuries, trades. There hasn't been nearly as much of the like free square, and it's never free. It's not like the NBA where there's actually free square sometimes.
Right. That's the $3,000 starting point guard out of nowhere. That's the true free square because it's literally an in-game injury is your only way to avoid that bullet, unless it's campaign.
yeah, campaign. God.
What a trash.
Oh, we got a 9-game slate tonight. We got plenty of good stuff coming up on the site for the NBA. But was there anything else you kind of took away from it? It was. It's always a fine line. I think this is one of the hardest parts of DFS, separating anomalies and outliers from bad process, bad plays. You look at Jermaine Kearse, you get 0. We got to dig in to see really what happened. I don't want to just rule it out as, garbage play, because if Jermaine Kearse would have returned a nice game, would people be saying, well, that was so obvious. I knew. It made so much sense. No one knew why he was going to get those targets. The thing that was alarming, he really didn't get many looks.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I have not gone through and looked at that game a whole lot. But yeah, he only had 2 targets, and they only had 2 wide receivers. How did that even happen? I know Darnold had a rough day. And
really bad.
Some of it was, did you see the last pick that he threw? I saw Sam Monson from PFF just tweeted out like a video of it, and it's like, this is not your day, Mr. Darnold. And you see, I forget who the receiver is, but he's running, kind of a slant route. Darnold hits him in the chest with the pass. Like, he's got separation, hits him in the chest, literally bounces like just straight up into the air and right into the hands of Trey Waynes, who runs it back the other way. It's like, cannot have a more not your fault interception than that one. But
it just was a weird game. It kind of played out how I thought, without the Jets trying to like do anything. He was just Darnold was ineffective, and it was an all around a killer there. So you got to take that and move on. That's a fine line though. You can't just rule those plays out. Some were probably bad plays, some weren't. That's what we try to do. Obviously, try to get to the bottom of which ones, and it can be tough to separate the result from the actual process of it.
Yep. Yeah, it was Herndon was the guy. Good call. I remember him scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, there was some. Michael, you're talking about Golden Tate before. Michael Roberts, whoever that is, took all the touchdowns from your boy on the Lions.
Whoa, we got a bomb here, dude.
What happened?
Amari Cooper traded to the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting.
That seems, I've heard about this too about 3 seconds ago. It seems like a good fit. They obviously need help. Gallup showed signs of life, but do they really want to be relying on that guy? I don't think so.
Yeah, they need just some semblance of a vertical threat. And even if Cooper isn't catching a ton of balls or anything like that,
I'm honest,
he should be able to do that.
Yeah, we talked about that with Josh Gordon, and it hasn't turned out that way because he's been actually important. But I thought at the minimum, Josh Gordon would be amazing for the Patriots just because it would take the heat off Edelman, Hogan to a lesser extent, Gronk, the other guys. So it's like if Amari goes there and it just opens it up for Zeke a little more. Cole Beasley's been good lately, at least. He made a couple big catches yesterday, even though they lost. That's going to be, for DFS purposes, the resurgence of Amari. He's still going to be 20% and just catch 0 passes.
Yeah. Wow, they got a first-round pick for him?
Wow, that's even more surprising.
Yeah, because they're going to have to pay him, too. That's insane. I mean, good for the Raiders, I guess.
John Gruden, man, pushing all those right buttons.
Just loading up on those first-round picks so you can maybe someday get players as good as Khalil Mack.
And Amari.
I did hear that Derek Carr's cap hit, if they cut him, it's only like $7.5 million for next year. So that's like totally feasible. And he just signed a huge deal 2 years ago. I would have thought it would be worse than that, but so
I mean, what the Raiders, they need to tank one more year and then just get Tua from Alabama. That should be the Raiders' plan.
Yeah, I mean they need a lot of players. Like a lot.
They're bad. Yeah. Really, really bad. Anyway, do you have any final thoughts on what we saw yesterday? I mean, Mahomes wasn't on the main slate. He looked great again. Very impressive. Still, I'm not – I know – whatever. At this point, you can say I'm a Mahomes hater, and that's fine. He should have more than – he's throwing some balls that should be picked, and they're not. And those will get picked. He's still incredible. It's awesome to watch, but man, is he catching some lucky breaks along the way.
Yep. I agree with you, Josh. Gruden is a genius.
Yeah, exactly. He's John Boy. He is a genius because he's getting paid cash money, and I'm sure they'll fire him in like 2 years and he'll get a lot of money. So,
I mean, the thing with someone like that, it's we saw this. As someone who knows the NBA a little bit better, like this, it's like the Stan Van Gundy situation. These guys that, for all I know, Gruden's still a good coach, but has he ever been a personnel guy? Like, Stan Van Gundy certainly wasn't, and he was awful at it. Like, Doc Rivers, the GM, bad idea, Like, some of these guys, it's like, maybe Gruden is a good coach, but they still need to have, like, a general manager who's actually in charge, and I don't think that's the case there.
I mean, we'll see. It just seems like a lot of things are treading in the wrong direction. And that's what we're going to see. As it unfolds, we'll talk about it. This is going to start getting the time of the year. I think seats are not his, of course, but like this, I dare say, might be the end of Hugh Jackson. It's starting to really heat up. He claims he needs to call the plays as if that's going to fix it. So we'll see.
That's what he was good at, right? He was a pretty successful offensive coordinator in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and then, I mean, the problem for him, it's hard to say that that's the problem when he was calling the plays for 2 years and they won one game. Like, I don't know if taking that back over will help, but again, you got desperate times call for desperate measures with the old Brownies.
Yeah. Hugh Jackson stinks. Who do you think is the next? I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there that could be
Dunzo fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Vance Joseph.
Yeah. I mean, they just beat the snot out of the Cardinals, though. But
I know, but it's the Cardinals. There's a lot of bad teams out there. Like, it's a weird league. It's so hard to predict because there's so much parity. But at the same time, then, I mean, you look, there are just some real awful teams that have no hope this year.
Think Steve Wilkes goes one and done in Arizona?
No, just because, I think with teams that have the rookie QBs, you get a little longer leash because the whole plan is like, let's develop these guys. It does you no good, but it's certainly a bad start.
Yeah, I mean, they got rid of McCoy already. I don't know.
Yeah,
I will say, though, I was saying the other day, I was kind of impressed with Josh Rosen. For a game that he just got absolutely lit up in, I thought his decision-making seemed pretty solid. But
yeah, I mean, I been a fan of. I like honestly, the one guy I'm not a huge, a huge fan of is Baker, who most people I think would say is the best of the four. I don't agree. I think he has vastly superior talent. And yesterday did nothing to change my thought. I thought that was a really disappointing effort against the Bucs. He holds the ball forever, takes some stupid sacks, makes some throws. He's got talent, there's no doubt. But Baker's got a long way to go before I'm going to be a believer, that's for sure.
I mean, he's better than Josh Allen, but that's about all.
Whoa. It's not unfairly labeled, people. Yeah, I mean, getting back to the slate, though, real quick. Speaking of Josh Allen, that kind of hurt me, too. Immediately LaShawn McCoy got hurt yesterday. So I had a 0 in a lot of spots. There was an injury bug creeping up here and there yesterday. Obviously, Sony Michel, who apparently is not hurt that bad.
Yeah.
That's good news for sure.
It is.
Yep. But no, I mean, NFL, to go macro for a second before we get out of here, it can be frustrating because it's once a week. I'm kind of used to that because golf is the other predominant, DFS sport that I really like. College football, same thing. It can be tricky though because you're you can be cold for months, and it's only a handful of slates, that you're really attacking, and that it feels like, in the NBA or something, that's a couple weeks, if that. So I know it can be frustrating. Just got to kind of take each week as it is, adjust, try to see what's going on, and do the review of your lineups. Look what happened yesterday and try to put your decisions in buckets of what you're really happy with and where, regardless of how it turned out, what can you change, what can you improve?
Yeah, definitely. And try not to be too down on yourself about it. I've had a really frustrating NFL season so far. I cannot.
A lot of people have, yeah.
Yeah.
It's been frustrating.
It's been really brutal. But you can only do so much. You can't win it all back at once. I mean, sometimes you can. That is
going in with that mindset, though, is terrible.
Right. That is more sort of how I've generally operated over the years, where I do win it all back at once. But man, at least there's some swings. So been a bit of a down one to start NFL, but just gotta keep exactly. Go through, look at your stuff, examine your process, make sure what you're doing isn't the worst, and then every once in a while you pull. And
this is a general. I'm sure we've said this on this show before, but this is a general tip, and it's getting out there. The secondary tournaments, even though they're not as much money, are softer, and the pay structures are better in a lot of instances. I've seen time and time again someone put, say, 10 lines in the millie and then the secondary $20 tournament. They will cash for, say 3x the amount on the secondary one just because of the structure.
Yeah.
And it's a huge, you're not going to win $1 million in it, but man, it's not the same drainage on your bankroll. So be cognizant of that. If you can handle the swings and you want to embrace the risk, go ahead. But if you're really not looking to be volatile, sometimes lessening the allure of chasing the six-figure prize and building kind of responsibly is a really underutilized tool.
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, I've talked about that for a long time. It was
you brought it kind of. I didn't realize. I mean, I did, but man, I'm seeing it more and more how important that is.
Well, it was the first one was at the Masters because they had the millionaire maker, and then there was the 100,000-aire second tournament. Mm-hmm. And my best lineup was in the 100,000-aire. Came in 7th in that for $3,000. If it was in the millie, it would have been 49th for 700. It's just
look at that.
That's a huge difference. That second, the second big golf score I had this summer when I won that, it was the second $5, which was $25K to first. That would not have won the main one, that lineup. So,
then it's not again, if bankroll is bankroll, some people you can go in both, and then you can get a nice, happy medium of it. But it's important to know what you're in terms of structure. When we advocate for examining stuff, you need to look at the lines and the results, but you also want to look at what game selection. There are certain things already. We're 4 days into NBA, and as much as I love to play cash, I'm almost at the point already where I'm just this is not that I'm playing a ton of NBA cash, but I might even exit completely because I'm not sure that long term it's doing anything except bleeding me. So we'll see. And you just want to be cognizant of what you're doing in terms of game selection.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, exactly. And it depends on where you're at. I do think I still played a little bit last year. You and I are not allowed to play at the smaller stakes because we've played so much over the years. So, like, there are still, if you're kind of picking through, I mean, there are softer head-to-heads at the $1 and $2 and $3 stakes, for sure. Especially, I think, early in the year on something like NBA. But, man, it is, NBA cash is a slog. Yeah, I don't really play it either.
You know what you're saying? That's part of game selection.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I tell this to people all the time, like, yes, there's a bunch of people who are banned from the lower dollar games, and it just makes sense that you should probably allocate some time down there if you can play down there. It's softer, and you can build up and then take some shots. And we got Eagles in the chat. What's up, Eagles? Good to have you here, my man.
Hey, bud.
Yeah, so just those are things that I like to look at. I think it's important to just really examine it, and you're going to find trends, and then you can see, okay, wow, I need to start playing more triple ups because I'm beating them at a good clip, and I think I found something here, and then I can take that money and put it into some of the more aggressive lotto-esque tournaments because those are fun. I play them, but man, you're not going to be grinding up because you're playing the millie. That's just not how that works.
That is absolutely
it would
true.
Be nice, but
yeah.
No.
Do you want to congratulate Brooks Koepka on his first real tour victory?
Yeah, take out those majors, and this is a new experience for him, basically.
Yeah. Just kidding. Brooks Koepka has been amazing for a long time. Our dear friend Carl made some really egregious arguments about how Brooks's major victories were somehow less important or something like that. But he has fully come around. Everybody's come around. Brooks is very, very good.
He's incredible, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the golf. And tomorrow, you can catch us with Tim Frank. We're going to be breaking down the WGC, the World Golf Championship from China. Decent tournament. A lot of good players, so stop back tomorrow. But yeah, the golf was in Korea, and Brooks took it down. My boy Ryan Palmer, course record on Sunday.
Yeah, needed a course record to beat my Andrew Putnam best of the shit golfers.
Put it on the board. Yeah, it's all about the hot takes around here. So golf's been good. I haven't been playing a ton in terms of full volume, but for non-cuts, I'm hanging in there, which is not my preferred format. Yeah,
I had a nice week last week. Pulled in about the 30% ROI, which was helpful. Cashed at 555. The one I played didn't have like a core smash necessarily, but just hit some good combos. I was very heavy on Jason Day, who had a nice last day to stick.
Yeah, he finished strong. That course is nuts. It was really hard, and then it became just a birdie fest. Like towards the end, guys were making. It felt like 5-6 birdies in a row.
Yeah. Days 3 and 4 were pretty nuts, and honestly, it was good that the first couple days weren't, because then we didn't have to worry about all the no one had the all under 70 bonus.
Yeah, that was deleted immediately.
Yep. Which was.
Any final thoughts before we skedaddle?
Josh just tried to say something to us, but then he realized he wasn't producing. Go back to your FIFA game, buddy.
Yeah, man. We'll have to wrangle him back in for Josh, if you're listening. We need to do that draft game again.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah, exactly. NFL draft trivia.
Yeah, those are I always do a little gambling after the show. But yeah, just a couple administrative things on my end as usual. Again, catch us tomorrow for the golf show. Everyone in chat, if you're watching, press that like button. Helps keep the lights on, as we would say. We do really appreciate that. And then, later in the week, we'll see what unfolds. I don't know. Is this another Wednesday night golf lock? Do you know?
It should be. It's in Asia.
I think so. So we'll adjust that schedule accordingly. It's a little crazy right now.
It's a WGC event. It's another no-cut set limited field. So yeah,
Yeah.
we'll let you know tomorrow what we're gonna do for it, but don't expect the full effort.
It's tough to, yeah, well, that too. It's just tough to have a Wednesday night golf show when the tournament is started.
Yes.
But yeah, we'll get some stuff out. Obviously, articles and other things for all these sports. It's a sports-rich time of the year.
So sports rich. Yeah, I'm doing projections for, I don't know, 11 different sports right now.
League of Legends,
Sure.
all of it.
Sure.
Why not?
Might as well. But we got all kinds of good stuff behind the paywall. Awesemo.com has a ton of resources. We have a lot of people, a lot of talented people, and I think it's worth giving us a shot because
stop on in.
Yeah, and give us a like because I can add producer to my list of talents now. So just doing
moving
everything
up in the world, resume booster.
So yeah, I guess we'll get out of here. Thanks everyone for watching. Ben, nice talking to you. Thanks Andrew for producing, and
I like it. Good luck in Showdown tonight, people.
Yeah.
Hit us in Slack if you have any questions.
Exactly. All right, take it easy. And now I have to hit the stop streaming button.
I was about to say, are you telling us that we're clear? How does that work?
We're not clear yet because I haven't hit it, but I'm going to now. All right.